So, as I near the juicy double O and become the world's greatest YouTuber known to man, I think y'all should get to know me a little more. And with the release of Hamilton on Disney Plus, what a better time to reveal that my single other personality trait, parallel to my love of the rest of humanity finally taking a stand and destroying Karenkind, is my love of musicals. I started loving musicals since the release of High School Musical. It came out in 2006, a time when I was only really learning how to read and write properly, but by that time I knew every word to every song. My mom had a love-hate relationship with that musical. She could have hours of peace while I sat in front of the TV, singing the songs to myself and my little sister. Yet I would wake up at obscure times, screaming the words to Breaking Free and waking up the entire house. Yet I didn't care. High School Musical was my life, the only thing that mattered. It didn't end there though. There was always a big Disney fan in the house, and every time a new movie was added to the mouse's belt, you could bet I was in the cinema, soaking up all the cheesy Disney worlds I could. Every time we would go out, I would see the Disney store and insist that I go in, refusing any kind of barter. Even if we wouldn't buy anything, I would always get a grin on my face, just being one step closer to being my favorite Disney princess. But musicals didn't really start to take over my life until the first year of secondary school. I was, like a lot of teenagers, bullied. And one day, the cliche main bully came over to me while I was listening to something, probably a Perry Grip song or some other meme YouTuber. She came over to taunt me, call me names, and call my music taste bad. So stupidly, I asked her what she listened to. She told me Hamilton. She talked about how I wouldn't get it, and even if I listened to it, she could rap the songs and I wouldn't be able to. So spitefully, I went home that day and started listening to it. And oh my god, did I love it. I instantly fell in love with the musical. I spitefully learned the raps, learning them at double time, and showing her up at the next talent show. Which I didn't win, but I'm not salty. I knew every word and every tune. I had researched every possible meaning into the song, totally enamored by how amazing it was. This was my world for so long. I did my junior cert project on the Hamilton musical and Lin-Manuel Miranda. I did my history project on the American Revolution, and so on and so on. Hamilton had become such a large part of my life that even my father had to ban me for even listening to the musical for a while. I had just become so obsessed. But then I found out there were even more musicals. My song library just grew. Mainstream musicals like Dear Evan Hansen, Mean Girls, and Come From Away, and more not so known ones like Assassins, Chess, Bat Boy, and loads of others just became my anthems. I have a lot of favorite musicals, and I'm going to talk about a few of them that I really love today. But one of the musicals that still holds up as my favorite, it's a musical that makes me cry and question everything about life every time I listen and watch it. It's Falsettos. Falsettos is about Marvin, the most hateable man in musical land, and his family, Whizzer his lover, Trina his wife, Jason his son, and Mendel his therapist. The first song is great. It's hilarious and funny and feels more like the cast are a bunch of little kids bickering with their family, instead of a serious song that starts a serious musical. They're dressed up in clothes from ancient Egypt and telling stories from the Bible if their constant telling of them being Jewish wasn't enough. Trina, in her normal clothes, swoops on in, pulling the men back down to earth. The only woman in the first half of the musical is to be the grounding point for a lot of it. I don't want to spoil the musical for you because you really need to listen to it. James Lapine and William Finn hit all the marks for an emotional, happy, funny, and angry musical, and it's just something that you really need to listen to. Another musical that took over my life at one point is In the Heights. Written by the amazing Lin-Manuel Miranda, the king of modern-day musicals and the writer of Hamilton, it's a story that's set over 3 days. It's all about a dude named Usnavi who runs a shop in Washington Heights. The musical follows Usnavi's dream to head back to the Dominican Republic, a lottery ticket won by someone in the Heights to the tune of $96,000. It's funny, upsetting, lighthearted, and just a feel-good kind of musical. If you have 2 hours to kill, make sure to listen to it. It's really worth your while. While I listened to it for the first time, it just hit me in a certain way that I was just compelled to listen to it over and over again. Breathe, one of my favorite songs in the musical, talks about disappointing the people who you love, and as as one of the main characters drops out of college. It's every college kid's worst nightmare, and to see how Nina, her family, and the town handle the news, it's honestly just astonishing. I have never liked scary movies, not as a kid and not as an adult. And as a kid, one of the movies that I hated the most and found the most scariest was Beetlejuice. I absolutely hated it. He was a scary and creepy guy, and he just made me feel so uncomfortable. He was the embodiment of all the bad dreams I had, and I repressed all the memories I had of that movie for such a long time. So when many years later Beetlejuice got a musical, I did not listen to it for at least a year. But then on one of the days where you feel like a superhero, I decided to listen to it. I was instantly blown away by the opening number. The instant throwback to the movie in such an eerie chorus of voices almost spooked me out of listening to the rest. Almost. Sophia Anne Crusoe as Lydia Dietz and Alex Brightman as Beetlejuice are just the perfect casting. Beetlejuice in the old movie was a creep, while in this musical he was painted as a charming, misunderstood ghost, who is also a really weird creep. But at least it's not his only personality trait. The whole soundtrack is a high till the very end. There are no lulls for bathroom breaks or falling asleep. Something new is always happening. Whether someone is dying or someone's figuring out something, you'll always be engaged. Adapting a book or a movie into anything else like a musical or a movie is always risky, but when done right, like Beetlejuice, you can make the source material even lack in comparison to the musical. Oh yeah, and I also rewatched the movie, and honestly it's not even scary in the slightest. I'm honestly really disappointed in my childhood self. Beetlejuice is a creep in the movie, yeah, but it's not a scary movie in the slightest. I've never really had a lot of friends who share the same love of musicals that I have. No one in my secondary school really cared for musicals, and my university major is nowhere near related to musical theatre in the slightest. I was in a panto last year, which was one of the closest things I have been to doing a musical, and it was honestly amazing. But those were the only people that enjoyed music as much as me, and we've kind of drifted away. It was fun while it lasted. So now that the Hamilton musical is accessible to everyone on Disney Plus, and everyone around the world will be able to see it, and more people will face the same fate as me, I just wanted to say hi. Musicals are great. While it does sound cheesy, they really did shape my life. They have made me who I am today because they were my escape. An escape from the world that's around me. And we all need an escape right now. While it's good to be present and watch the news and absorb everything that's going on around you, those things can really drain you. So a little musical interlude can just calm me and a lot of people right down. But my favorite musical of all time? It's the one that really made me cry when I first listened to it and just blew me away. It's Come From Away. It's the first and only musical I've ever seen live. I remember going with a friend. It was nighttime, it was around 7 p.m. We were in the front row, 3 seats from the center. And from start to end, I felt like I was part of that musical. It was beautiful. The songs were amazing, the cast was brilliant, and the set design was just perfect. I laughed, I cried more than once, I danced on my chair. I was only steps away from jumping on the stage and dancing with them. After the show, by some miracle, I received a signed poster of the whole cast, which I keep on my wall. The signatures have slightly faded because I haven't put it framed, but they're still visible, and it's one of my most prized possessions to this day. If I had the chance, I would get it re-signed, because the whole memory and the musical has been one of the ones that shaped me the most. Come From Away is a musical based around Newfoundland and the events that happened in 9/11. It is set in the week following the attacks and tells the true story of how the tiny Canadian island dealt with 7,000 stranded travelers. It's harshly honest in everything that it tells, from racism to nationality to death and families and so on and so on. It is so perfect that I didn't even know if it was real when I watched it. I thought it was just a perfect dream. It feels like that dream that you never want to wake up from. If I had to choose one and only one musical to be in or ever listen to again, it would be Come From Away. There are so many other musicals I would love to cover. So many other worlds and universes that I would love to gush over. But this video, in my opinion, is already too long. So if you want a part 2, please tell me in the comments. hit subscribe. I read and heart every single one of the comments. So if you have any questions or just want to discuss musicals, don't be afraid to ask. I'm Hearts, stay safe, and bye.